Okay, now we're live. Okay. Hey, everybody. How's it going? Chuck Holton here, coming to you from downtown Cúcuta, Colombia, on the border with Venezuela. And I am surrounded by Venezuelans right now. And I'm also surrounded by sky rats. There are so many pigeons in this park, it will blow your mind. And so I'm going to show you some of that in just a minute. We're going to try to go around and talk to some of the Venezuelans that are here. This is one of the places in downtown where they come to go shopping. So they come across from Venezuela. They buy their stuff here, usually from other Venezuelans, and then they go back to Venezuela with their purchases. So it's interesting to come down here and talk to people. It's pretty chaotic. There's a lot of noise, and I don't know really how good the connection is going to be, but we'll do the best we can. We want to say thank you to Nathan for producing today, and to my friend Joel, who's holding the camera, and to our security guy here. Show Eric. There's Eric, the security guy, who's watching our backs. So we've been down here now for a couple of days, and there's not really a lot happening as far as people fleeing Venezuela or going back to Venezuela. You've heard me talk about that on the other lives that I've done. Before we get into all that and I start showing you around here, just want to say that we have a good sponsor today. It's Brightcore Nutrition. I've gotten to know them real well. They're great people, and I've been using their products now for about a month, and I actually really love them a lot. I've got Sweet Greens, which is a green, wheatgrass powder, that kind of thing, which is fantastic for getting your greens. And I've been using Kimchi One. Now, Kimchi One helps to remove the toxins from your body. It's made from real kimchi. They combined it down into a little pill. And man, believe it, when you open the bottle of pills, you can smell it. You can smell that kimchi, but you don't have the taste of it, and that's the best part. It does a great job of removing the heavy metals from your body, removing all the other toxins and that sort of thing, microplastics, you name it. And so if you want to get some of this Kimchi One, I really like it. And I like how it makes me feel. No side effects whatsoever. So what you want to do is go to mybrightcore.com/Chuck. And I'm sorry, is it /Hot Zone or /Chuck? Anyway, the link is on the screen there, folks. So you can go to that link or hit the QR code. The best thing to do is just call them on the phone, because you get a bigger discount if you call them than if you go to their website. So they like to be able to talk you through it and explain it to you. And so just give them a call at the number on the screen, and they will explain it all to you. You get 50% off by doing it that way. It's much better. So thank you to Brightcore for sponsoring today's live. And so let's do it. Like I said, we're surrounded by Venezuelans. They all come down here and sort of congregate in this park. So we're going to go around and we're going to talk to a few people, and I'll translate for you, and we'll see what people think. So first, let's go look at the sky rats over here. You see this little girl. She looks a little dubious about all these pigeons. Anybody who's feeding these pigeons is going to get absolutely inundated. And you see people sitting. I don't think I would sit down out here, because there's just pigeon droppings everywhere. No son peligrosos. No? Mira. Yeah, you see that? Somebody over there started feeding them, and they all went over there. They were watching. ¿Usted es venezolana? Oh, sí. ¿De cuál parte? Barquisimeto, sí. Yo lo conozco un poco. Sí, she's from Barquisimeto, Venezuela. ¿Cuánto tiempo tiene aquí en Colombia? 8 años, mucho tiempo. Sí, por eso está pensando en regresar a Venezuela ahora. Not going to go back to Venezuela yet. ¿Por qué no?
Pues acá tenemos una vida, diría yo, que estable, porque los niños están en tu país.
Acá. So she said, because we have a stable life here, my kids are in school. Allá más duro.
Pues cuando yo me vine estaba súper duro. Ahora pues la verdad no he ido sino solamente de visita. Pues.
She's only been back to visit in the last 8 years. pero ha oído, tiene familia allá todavía. ¿De qué está diciendo ellos?
Pues, todo tranquilo, o sea,
Pero ¿y los colectivos? ¿Dónde están? Okay. So the criminal biker gangs are not causing problems in Barquisimeto where her family is. And so they say it's pretty tranquil, not a big deal over there. But she's not going to go back because she's got her life built here after 8 years away. Okay, muchas gracias. Que Dios le bendiga. You speak English?
Algo.
Oh, you do? Well, we could have done this in English. What's your name?
algo ahí. Pues.
Oh, un poquito. Oh, excelente. ¿Y cuál es su profesión?
Costurera.
Costurera. No sé qué es. Ay, ay, ay.
Costura.
Oh, okay. This is insane. Me están atacando. No me gusta. Son ratones del cielo. Yeah. Okay, muchas gracias. Okay. Yeah. I think I stood still too long. No, heck no. There'll be 500 of them on me and I'll be covered with droppings. These people over here are selling ice cream and they've got these noisy generators over here. There were some older guys over here I wanted to talk to and see what they thought, if they're into politics. Hola, ¿ustedes son venezolanas? No, colombiana. Pero aquí hay bastante, ¿no? Yeah, okay. They're Colombian, not Venezuelan. Whoa. Let's try not to get killed by one of these birds. Actually, though, these birds are pretty good at avoiding obstacles. Hola. Buenos días, señores. ¿Cómo estamos?
Bien.
¿Ustedes son venezolanos? No. De Medellín. Wow. Paisano. Excelente. Yo vivo en Panamá. Sí. Excelente. Muchas gracias. So they're Colombian. ¿Usted es venezolano, señor? No. Él. ¿Cuánto tiempo tiene aquí en Colombia? 4. ¿Cuál es su profesión? No, solo. ¿Cuántos años tiene? So he's 28 years old and he came 4 years ago, went to Bucaramanga. Bucaramanga is kind of up in the mountains, a little south of here. And there's a lot of Venezuelans that have gone there too. It's a bigger city. Hay bastantes. Pero ahora que se cayó Maduro, ¿qué piensan?
Bueno, que falta también más palabras por el Maduro, ¿verdad? Que como que para ser ayudado, porque se ahora un títere lo mandan. Todo se fue ayudado.
Okay. ¿Y está pensando en regresar a Venezuela?
Sí, estoy. No, precisamente.
Okay, so he's going to try to go back to Venezuela because he's basically homeless here, has nothing, and there's nothing for him here. So that's really common. Is what we're hearing from a lot of people, is that the decision on whether to go back or not is going to come down to an economic one and not not so much a patriotic one, so to speak. So people who have built a life and built a business and stuff here are planning to stay for the time being. People like him are thinking about going back. Okay, muchas gracias. Que Dios le bendiga. Okay. Gracias. Por el momento es que no puede. So, there's a church over here. I want to see. Give it to Eric.
Yeah.
There's Eric.
Yeah.
Puede darlo un poquito. Okay. Don't forget you're filming me.
Yeah.
So Yeah. Okay. We're going to go over here and look at this church because they got some, that's beautiful. Okay. Looks like they actually have a service going on, so we're not going to go. We'll just go to the door and let this get across, not get run over. Beautiful. Right in the middle of mass. No, no, no voy a regalar nada, nadie que toma droga. No regalo nada a nadie que está tomando droga. No. All right, we're going to try to get back across. And we'll go look at some of the shopping options we have around here. Getting bothered by, there's a lot of homeless people and drug addicts in this part of town. And try to be careful. That's why, like, giving money to that kid, you just told everybody in town that we're easy marks. Now we're going to get inundated. Well, you're no easy mark, that's for sure. Joel is one of the most generous people I've ever met. Oh, let's go look at this guy over here. And it's always fun to travel with him because he's really, really nice to everybody. Oh, yeah. Likes the dogs. Human statue. Happy New Year 2026. Here, I got some. I got it. I'm good. Oh, the statue moved. So there's some government buildings, municipal buildings around this park. We came here once to meet with the mayor of Cúcuta. I think it was this building. Yeah, I think it was this building right here where we met with the mayor. It says Municipal Palace of the Alcaldía, which is like the mayorship of San Jose de Cúcuta. So yeah, that's where it is. It's where the mayor's office is. One of the reasons I wanted to come down here is because we've been to the border a couple times now, and really all you see down there are more journalists. There's so many journalists down there. It's unbelievable. So I just wanted to show something different, sort of everyday life for the Venezuelans that live here in Colombia. And so that's what we're doing here. I see one journalist here, but nothing like down at the border. So that's why we're doing it. That statue says Santander, I think. Yeah, we're gonna wade through these pigeons and try to get what? Watch out! What if you? Well, they're smart enough that you can't trick them if you don't actually have anything. You can't trick them. Look at this. Oh, this girl's scared to death. Poor little girl. Yeah. No te preocupes, mami. No te preocupes. Está bien, está bien. Okay.
Hey, Dad, we have a lot of people asking where you are, and I've put it in the chat, but they don't seem to quite understand. So can you tell everybody where you are and what you're doing?
Okay, I am in Cúcuta, Colombia, right downtown. This is the old part of the city. Where Cúcuta, Colombia is right on the border. Maybe Nathan can even show a video or a map at some point, but it's right on the border. It's the main border crossing where people come out of Venezuela into Colombia. There have been millions of Venezuelans that have passed through here, and at times there are more Venezuelans in this town than there are Cubanos. That's not the case right this minute, but sometimes that has happened. So I want to get to kind of what's happening inside Venezuela, okay? And this comes from talking to people that are here, that have family inside Venezuela. And so let's go over here someplace a little quieter, and we'll sit down and get the tripod. Hay que abrirlo. We'll go over here and sit down. If I can find some place to sit where it's not covered with droppings. Other side over there. Okay. So yesterday we tried to get into Venezuela, and we walked up to the border crossing. Hola. You Venezolano? Oh, Colombiano. Hey. Bang. You speak English? Yeah. So we're wondering how things have changed since Nicolás Maduro got taken. It's good. It's good what they did. Okay. Now President Trump is saying maybe they'll do the same to Gustavo Petro. What do you think about that? You think that would be a good idea? Yeah, it would be good.
Okay.
Right, so you're not going to vote for Gustavo Petro? He's not good. Is he a terrorist or is he just a communist? Comunista. Yeah. Yeah, he was a guerrilla. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. So I want to get a video with him talking about that. Voy a encontrarte de nuevo. Gracias. ¿Cuál es su nombre? Arturo. Okay. Nos vemos. Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on. Just get a little closer, maybe get me like from here. What we have heard is going on in Venezuela, and I've got some videos and some photographs to show you. Now, I will point out that a lot of the photographs that we're receiving from people inside Venezuela are very, very graphic. Some of the most graphic photos I've ever seen in my life of people who were killed in the attacks surrounding the operation to take out Nicolás Maduro. I have put some of those photos up over at chuckholton.com, but you have to be a supporter to see them. I got to keep them behind a paywall because they are extremely graphic. Let me promise you, this is not the kind of photo that is for somebody who's got a weak constitution at all. But it just shows basically Venezuelan and or Cuban soldiers who were killed in the operation or injured. There's a lot of injury photos. As a matter of fact, I can probably show you some of those that aren't so graphic if Nathan has them on the screen. And those are, like of the hospital and people like that. You can see some wounded people. Is he showing those on the screen? No, not yet. Okay, so I don't know if Nate's got those loaded in or not, but there's also some of the destruction that was caused by the attacks, and that destruction shows vehicles that are destroyed, burned, things like that. From my experience, okay, so it looks like Nathan's showing something now. You can turn the audio down though, Nate. From my experience, what we're seeing there are attacks that were meant to slow down any response, to take out anybody who was posing a threat to U.S. forces, and to create a distraction so that Delta Force could get into Maduro's residence and take him out. And so that's pretty much what you're looking at there. There are some videos that show firefights taking place. I saw one that showed a man pads being fired at a U.S. helicopter. The helicopter was hit, but not damaged sufficiently to make it crash or anything like that. It continued and finished the mission. Those helicopter pilots from the Task Force 160 are the best helicopter pilots on planet Earth. They've got tens or hundreds of thousands of hours flying, and they can do things that look like magic in a helicopter. I've seen it. I've been on their helicopters, and they are, and I've flown helicopters myself, so I know how difficult it is to fly a helicopter as well as they do. And those guys are unbelievable. So I'm glad that they finally got a chance to put their skills to use in real world conditions. They don't get that a whole lot these days, usually because the politicians are too afraid to let them do what they do. Now, this is very, very bad for Cuba. And the reason is Cuba got a lot of support from Venezuela. They are further down the communist road than Venezuela is. And so their economy is in much worse shape. They've been under sanctions for a lot longer than Venezuela has. When you go to Cuba, I've been there a couple times. The vehicles you see are all from the 1950s because that's when the sanctions took effect. And they haven't been able to import cars from the United States since then. So there are 1950s era cars everywhere in La Habana. The Cubans have made an industry out of making parts for those cars and keeping them on the road. It's pretty amazing and insane to see. It's like going to an old car museum in a city where they're just out in the open driving around. Now, I'm sure in the recent past, you're seeing more Chinese-made cars in Cuba, but suffice it to say that all of their oil came from Venezuela, and without oil coming in, which they're not going to be getting now, that regime may collapse anytime. Now, here is a video. Let's see if we can get Nathan to put this up of Lindsey Graham talking about Cuba and the effects on them. Can you get that, Nate?
Give me a second. I think
Is
I
he
have
shaking his
that
head?
one. Give me a second. I think I have that one. I just have to put it up.
Okay, just got to load it up.
Might be this one.
So, okay.
Latin America, the Caribbean, Africa, Asia. The governments of the world are
well, you
simply
can play that one.
shocked at the victims and targets of an attack of this nature, which undoubtedly has a Zionist slant. It's really shameful.
So that was Delcy Rodríguez in Venezuela blaming the Jews for the assault against Venezuela and taking out Nicolás Maduro. I promise you, the Jews had absolutely nothing to do with it. And although Prime Minister Netanyahu did praise the operation and say, look, Venezuela is a threat to the Western way of life, and that includes Israel. We're glad that they did it. It doesn't mean that they had anything to do with it, but it does show kind of where Delcy Rodríguez is at. And I think, listen, if you're an American conservative, there's a subset of American conservatives, the sort of InfoWars crowd, who are very anti-Israel, anti-Zionist, and have been propagandized into that by Russian propaganda, Chinese propaganda, and Iranian propaganda. And they don't realize that. They don't realize they're being propagandized and having their worldview shaped by our adversaries. And so when you hear a communist leftist like Delcy Rodríguez saying that the Jews were responsible for the operation against Nicolás Maduro, it just shows you what side you're on if you believe that kind of tripe. That is absolute garbage. It's not true at all. And it's just anti-Semitism, naked anti-Semitism, for sure. All right, Nathan, let's see if you can find the one with Lindsey Graham. He's the old white-haired guy. He's talking to another old white-haired guy, two guys having a talk on a news show on, I think it's on Fox. So see if you can find that one. I know it's in your
You
lineup
didn't
there.
send me that one. I didn't see anything like that in the drive file. I'll look again, but you can keep talking.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. See if you can do it. What other videos do we have? I know I uploaded a whole bunch of them and a bunch of pictures and stuff. So okay. Again, I know. I have one of a motorcycle driving around in Venezuela. So let's see if Nathan can put that one up. It's a POV from the driver just driving around in Venezuela. You can see that there are not a lot of vehicles on the road. That is out of the ordinary. It turns out that people are being told to stay in their homes by the colectivos. The person filming this video is likely a biker gang member of those ultra-violent gangs that Nicolás Maduro used to do his dirty work. And they are going around threatening people in Caracas. I think this video was actually taken just on the other side of the border in San Antonio de Táchira. But you can see normally in Venezuela, everybody has cars. Gasoline was so cheap in Venezuela until recently that it was just pennies on the dollar it was just pennies to fill up your tank. Didn't cost much. So everybody's got a car, and there were a lot of cars around. Now you're not seeing very many cars at all on the road. And that's because of two things, because petroleum is harder to find with the blockade, and because they're being told to stay inside by the biker gangs. And what they're trying to do is keep there from being, celebrations in the streets. They put out text messages to the people in Venezuela and said, if you get caught celebrating, you will be treated as a traitor, which means you're going to be taken out and shot. And so people inside Venezuela are not going out in the streets and celebrating just yet. When you see that happen, then you'll know things have really changed for the better in Venezuela. President Trump said that, Nate, you can turn the audio down on that thing. So President Trump said that the United States is in control of Venezuela right now. That is actually not the case, not yet. Now, we have more control over Venezuela than we did before because President Trump has threatened Delcy Rodríguez, who's the acting president now, and told her she may face a worse fate than Nicolás Maduro, which would probably mean there's a bomb dropped on her head. But as I said yesterday, that comes with a lot of risks for the United States. You've heard the justification for taking Maduro was that this was a law enforcement operation through the DEA and the CIA that was backed up by the U.S. military. And that is legal under international law, especially if Nicolás Maduro and his wife are not the duly elected president and his first lady of Venezuela. With that being the case, they feel like they've got a good legal justification for prosecuting Nicolás Maduro and his wife, putting them in jail for a long, long time. Delcy Rodríguez is not yet indicted as a drug trafficker. There are several others like Diosdado Cabello, who's I think the Minister of Defense or something. Those guys we could arrest like we arrested Nicolás Maduro. But Delcy Rodríguez, not so much. So unless they get around to indicting her as an accomplice in this, then taking Delcy Rodríguez out and unseating the government of Venezuela would be an act of war. And that would mean we would need technically the approval of Congress to do that. We may or may not be able to get the approval of Congress to do that because there are just enough Republicans that are not on board with President Trump's, all of his ideas, that they would join the Democrats in voting against it. So it puts the president in sort of a tough position. He's blustering at Delcy Rodríguez and saying, yeah, something worse might happen to you. But in reality, his hands are somewhat tied in doing something like that against the remaining vestiges of Nicolás Maduro's regime. The Venezuelans around here, they know that. They know that for sure. And with that in mind, they're not going back into Venezuela until they see something more happen. So last night I was talking to a lady right on the border, and she was like, why did President Trump do it halfway? Why did they only take out Nicolás Maduro? Why didn't they take out all the rest? Because unless they take out all the rest, this thing's not over. We just changed leaders, and we got the same problems we had before. Nicolás Maduro surrounded himself with extremists and, you know, hardcore communist leftists. And so those people are still in charge in there. And without getting rid of them.
That video up of those two ladies talking, Dad.
Oh, you do have the video of that? Okay,
Yeah.
well, play that. I translated it in English. I forgot. But play that video.
We hope that it will improve. Yes, because that's what we hope for. Change. I mean, it was always expected, it really was. But what we've always thought is, hey, they took him. Why didn't they take everyone else? Then it'll improve.
Well, most people would like to go back and be with their family because happiness is having their children, their grandchildren. I'd be the happiest woman if my son came back and...
Let's just hope that all of this situation gets resolved, and that truly, whatever is meant to happen, simply happens.
Now, that lady I went on to ask her, well, what do you think about Donald Trump? And I was kind of surprised at her reaction, because most people around here, you ask them about Donald Trump and they go, yeah, you know, they're very excited. That lady, Venezuelan lady, she said, I don't really like Donald Trump. I said, why not? She said, because at the same time he's taking out Maduro, he's kicking the Venezuelans in America out and trying to make them go back to Venezuela. And why is he not giving them an opportunity to work and then earn the money that they need? Once they do that, they would want to go back on their own. But so she was somewhat critical of President Trump for his stance on immigration. And you can understand that from her point of view, perhaps, but that's because she's not an American and she's not having to pay for all the Venezuelans who are in the United States. So, I mean, I get it. I think people should be able to go live where they want to live within reason, but they need to do it legally. And there needs to be a legal pathway for them to do it that's not as difficult as the one we have in the United States right now, which is essentially nobody gets to come to the United States right now unless they don't need to be there for anything ever. So I, you know, of course, I've talked to hundreds, if not thousands of migrants over the last 10, 15 years who are on their way up to the United States, who went to the US. And many of them are just looking for a better life. I can promise you virtually all of them were economic migrants. They weren't fleeing war and disaster because, for example, the Venezuelans who went to the United States over the last 4 years under Joe Biden actually were not coming out of Venezuela by and large. They were coming from Colombia, where they already, as you see here, they're building a life here. They were coming from Ecuador and Chile and Peru and Bolivia, places, Brazil, where they had gone and had been for years and were making more money than they could in Venezuela, were doing fine, but they found an opportunity to go to the United States and make even more money. And so they went to the United States, get while the getting's good, essentially. Well, as you've seen here, we've gone around and talked to some Venezuelans in this park today, and they've been here for years. And so they've made a life. Their kids are in school. They've got jobs. They've got businesses. We're going to go look at them in a minute here and kind of show you what it's like shopping around here. So now I can't see your questions and comments today. I'm sorry about that. If there's any real good questions, maybe Nathan could come on and ask me and just tell me the questions.
I was thinking of doing the same thing of just asking you the questions and having you answer them. So we could do that.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead, because I can't see the screen today. But let's first, go ahead and ask me a question and we'll start walking, and we're going to walk around where the merchants are and kind of show you what it looks like in the marketplace here.
All right.
Well,
Tactical
Nick
Pal asks about the Brightcore stuff. Is this FDA approved?
That's a good question that you should call Brightcore and ask. The FDA does not approve supplements. They don't really have anything to do with supplements. The FDA approves medications, pharmaceuticals. These things are not medications and pharmaceuticals. They're supplements to supplement your diet with greens and with kimchi, which has a bunch of different probiotics in it that help to take the microplastics and heavy metals out of your system. So no, but that is a question you should ask them. Well, let's move this way. We'll go ahead.
All right. Next question from Christopher is, where is no?
Yeah,
sorry,
we got to do
is
that
this
after
where
the one.
you were when you encountered the woman who was demonically possessed?
Oh no, that was in Cartagena. You remember that? No, that was on the beach in Cartagena. There's no beach anywhere near this. We're more up in the mountains right now. Over and Nate, I wish you'd see if you can pull up a screenshot of a map. You know, just open Google Maps on your screen
Yeah,
and then go share screen and then share the map and look up Cúcuta and show them where we are.
Okay. Let me do that now.
Hola, peleadito. ¿Qué tienes? La mascarilla. Mascarilla para el sol. Buena idea. ¿Y ustedes son venezolanos?
Okay.
No, colombianos. Gracias.
Joel, can they see what I'm seeing?
No, he can't hear you.
Can you ask him? Because I can't tell.
What?
I'm showing the Google Earth, but I can't tell if they're seeing it or not.
Oh, well, you got to share it once you add it to the thing. You got to share it just like you do all the other videos.
Aha, there we go. Okay.
Now you can see on the screen there the map that shows, hopefully Cúcuta. We might have to zoom out a little bit to kind of show them where that is. Oh, mira. Qué precioso. Little baby. So virtually everything you see going down this street is counterfeit. But we're going to go this direction because there's a lot more noise that way. It'll be easier. So you see your Converse shoes. Those are not Converse shoes. Those are Chinese knockoffs of Converse shoes.
Speaking of
The
China,
watches,
Dad,
the
we also have
jewelry,
a video of the Chinese propaganda about what's going on.
Oh,
in
yeah,
Venezuela
good.
as well.
Yeah. So as we're talking about Chinese fakes, let's look at this video because this is a video that came out 21 days ago, right before Nicolás Maduro was taken out of the Chinese. Now, it's been translated into English, but you need to listen to this because this was put out by the Chinese Communist Party, basically taunting America for not having the guts to go after Maduro. Take a look.
Held back for so long and still dared not really strike Venezuela. This whole thing is pretty strange. U.S. warships were already deployed in the Caribbean. The threats were made loud and clear, yet nothing actually happened. So today, let's break it down and talk about what Washington is really afraid of. The first reason, and the biggest one, is over in the Taiwan Strait. You think the U.S. doesn't want to make a move? They've probably drafted the plans hundreds of times. So why don't they dare? Because China is watching from behind. Haven't you seen how packed Chinese warships are in the East China Sea? That's a very clear message to the United States. If you dare to use force in Venezuela, I'll move in the Taiwan Strait. For the U.S., strike Venezuela here, lose Taiwan there. That consequence is simply too serious. The U.S. can't afford it. What it fears isn't Maduro's limited forces. What it fears is fighting on two fronts, east and west, at the same time. That would be total disaster. And Venezuela itself isn't easy to deal with either. It has real backing from China. Money when it needs money, supplies when it needs supplies. That means if the U.S. attacks, it won't be anything like Iraq. It could turn into a second Afghanistan, or something even worse. Someone would keep pumping blood into Venezuela. The U.S. is watching Russia struggle in Ukraine. It has no desire to get dragged into another quagmire, because if that happens, its position as the world's top power would be in real danger. Maduro is actually quite clever. He keeps saying, China's victory is our victory, deliberately tying himself to China and making Washington even more hesitant to act. There's another problem, one the U.S. created itself. Right now, the world looks like a chain reaction. Ukraine has Russia tied down. Pakistan keeps India from fully focusing. North Korea holds South Korea by the throat. The U.S. wanted the Philippines to stir trouble in the South China Sea to contain China. But the Philippines itself is unstable. Meanwhile, China is launching aircraft carriers one after another, and its eyes are already set beyond the second island chain. Looking around the board, the U.S. suddenly finds itself checkmated. It desperately wants to use Japan to provoke China into acting first, whether in the East China Sea or the Taiwan Strait, so the U.S. can free its hands to deal with Venezuela. But China simply refuses to take the bait. No matter how much Japan stirs things up, China moves at its own pace. So now, The ones getting anxious are the US and Japan, while China calmly sits back and fishes. So do you see it now? It's not that the US suddenly grew soft-hearted, and it's not that Venezuela can't be beaten, it's that the timing is terrible. The cost of action is unbearably high. Washington is trapped in a dilemma. Attack Venezuela, and it risks losing Taiwan and damaging its hegemony. Don't attack, and it loses face and credibility collapses. What it wants most is for China to make the first move in East Asia. But China simply won't fall for it. In this world, everything is linked, one move after another. The US is holding a big stick, only to realize it's surrounded by hedgehogs, with no idea where to strike. What's even more suffocating is that the sharpest spike might be right under its own feet. It's not that it doesn't want to move. It's that it's truly afraid that once it does, the entire chessboard will flip. And now...
Okay, so that was China just about 3 weeks ago, and they've got egg on their face now because everything they said in that happened just the opposite. Now it's China that is panicking, that they just watched their most sophisticated air defense assets get absolutely owned on the ground inside Venezuela, just absolutely owned. And so the United States was able to pull off a flawless operation. We're not getting bogged down in a long-term war. And I can tell you that President Trump is not going to want to get bogged down in a long-term war either. So that's a good thing. And we'll have to wait and see what comes of it. Now, I did want to show you these Chinese knockoff Converse because if you look here, it doesn't say Converse, it says Senveri Star, Senver Star. So that's your first clue that those are not real. Okay. Now we'll go down here and take a look because there's another merchant I want to show you. Cute little toys. I guess they got stuff out for Easter already. Is that what that is? So this is interesting here. This guy has a whole table full of Venezuelan currency. This is where I got my big drawer full of Venezuelan currency. About $10 worth would take everything he's got on the table about 3 times over. See, si quería comprar eso.
Sí.
¿Cuánto sale esto? 30,000 pesos, less than $10. And that's gringo prices right there. Because when I sent my local driver down here, he came back with a trash bag full of currency and with less than $10. That was a couple years ago, but inflation's not that bad, although it is in Venezuela. This currency is worthless. That's the reason he's trying to get rid of it here, just as a souvenir for people. There are some, me dice que hay arte por aquí. ¿Ella? Ok, voy a preguntarla. Mira, mami, estamos buscando esa moneda, pero en como arte, doblado, no tienen.
Sí, esa la hace mi tío, los pingüinitos, los patos. Esa la hace mi tío, pero esa la tengo en el poder.
Que traerlo. Okay. Mañana me voy para buscarlo. Okay. Pero, sí.
Pasa el arte.
Sí, ok. ¿Tú eres venezolana?
Sí.
So she's Venezuelan. ¿Cuántos años tienes? 15. She's 15 years old. ¿Cuántos años tienes aquí en Cúcuta? 5 años en Cúcuta. Well, casi la mitad de tu vida. She's calling her uncle to tell him to bring some of the folded art. What are you doing? Oh, no, it's okay. So she's, I told her I wanted some of what they do is they take this currency and they fold it like origami into shapes, little birds and animals and stuff like that. And it's actually a pretty good souvenir to bring from the Venezuelan border. But she said she has to call her uncle who will bring some over, and we'll have to come back later on today or tomorrow. ¿Podemos regresar hoy o mañana?
Ahora más tarde.
Okay. After 3 o'clock today, we can come back and get some. Muchas gracias. Nos vemos. So this is what it's like for the people that live here. This is a town of about 700,000 people. About 200,000 of them right now, I'm told, are Venezuelan. This area where we are is full of drug addicts and homeless people, like that girl right there. That poor lady walking by me right there is not in very good shape, obviously. And I hate to see that. I also really don't want to give people like that money because they just use it to buy more drugs. You're actually making their lives worse by giving them money. So if anything, we'll give them some food or something like that. But it's real sad to see, for sure. Okay, folks, I've got to go. Nate, you got any more questions? Let's go back over here. I'm going to have to wrap it up pretty quick because I've got a live hit in a couple minutes. Well, we got time for one more question.
We have another question that I thought might be an interesting topic. Somebody asked, hasn't semiconductor production been moving to the U.S. from Taiwan because of the growing threat?
Yes, it has. That's one way that they're sort of dissuading China from trying to take Taiwan is by moving the very high quality, the very cutting edge chip production to the United States, where it'll be safer. That way, if China does take Taiwan, they can just hit a kill switch and kill those machines over there. China won't be able to use them, and then they can pick up where they left off in the United States. All right. That's all we got for today. I got to live in on Newsmax.
With whom? Who are you going to be going live with so they can watch?
Newsmax. I don't know if it's on N2 or N1. They have two channels, and I don't remember just off the top of my head which show it's on. So you might have to check both of those, but I'll be on Newsmax at probably closer to 1:20 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to see that, go check out Newsmax. And thank you for watching. Please go to chuckholton.com if you want to support our work, support all the travel we do to try to bring you the truth of what's happening on the ground around the world in areas of crisis, and try to help the people that we meet as best we can. So thank you for joining with us. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. Take care.